Hi, I'm McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we're going to unpack some breakup stories. We're going to go into the top 5 reasons you're in a dead relationship. I think this is a very useful topic. Some people that are in breakups currently are in a bad place in relationships. They don't usually call it dead relationship, but it's a good term because a lot of times you're checked out. Both of you know it's inevitable. The inevitable breakup. I've been in that situation a couple times. Hopefully the inevitable breakup is coming, but not too far away, because that's when you get into points where you like go 1 year, 2 years. But we're going to get into that. If you want to send in your story, send it into writemac.com. Excuse me. If you want to book a live coaching session, go to writemac.com. Been doing this a long time, and I'll do my best to help you out, give you some guidance, get you some clarity, get you some maps, some compasses, some fish hooks to survive through this thing, right? Otherwise, please write in the comments if you're watching this later on, top 5 reasons you're in a dead relationship. Maybe looking back, you had a point where you noticed like this relationship's just going nowhere. It's not just there's no spice or anything like that. It's just like we're not going to get past. We're not going to evolve and get better and better. And I'll get into that right now. Sam Lujan, always a pleasure. Welcome.
What's up, Sam?
And we'll get into, like I said, a little deeper of identifying this. And this might hit home for some people that are in relationships. Like, okay, maybe, and I wouldn't want someone to identify, oh, yeah, I'm just in it. I would say you always have free will to change things up. A lot of times when someone says they're stuck, or someone says, I don't have a play here, or I can't get out of this, there is one, you're just fighting it. It doesn't mean it's a good one. It doesn't mean that it's going to be easy, but there's always some options and free will. Now, if you're in a relationship that's a dead relationship, a dead end, or like I said, an inevitable breakup, maybe this will help you identify what you're fighting or what you're using to stay in it. So a lot of times taking kind of this aerial view about talking about it in the sense that that's actually what I'm doing, but I didn't even realize it, right? Because you think, there's no play here. There's a play to be made. So, number 1, it's a trade-off. You'll hear me say this a lot throughout your relationships. You're usually trading, maybe you're trading looks for the fact that your partner is rich. Maybe you're trading looks for the fact that your partner is not very smart. Right? The list goes on. Maybe you're trading the fact that the intimacy is the best you've ever had for the fact that they're crazy. Right? They just blow off the handle all the time. So there's always this trade-off. The ideal relationship is the trade-offs are small and they're reasonable. They're not drastic. Right? So being with someone that's dead broke because they're beautiful, that's a trade-off that you got to step up to. But if it's a real problem for you, I mean, you're losing a lot there, right? It's like one thing if someone's, a little financially less than you, but if someone's dead broke, that's tough. I've talked to people that were clients in those situations where people just don't work, don't have any extra money. They're on, they're just getting by. And that's a big trade-off. You can do it. Preferably you'd want to be rich first or well off, right? But that's a trade-off. Sure. So realize if this is one of your battles, what are you trading off? You're in a dead-end relationship. What are you trading for one thing for the other? And the way you can see this is you're upset with them. Let's say you get in a fight, you get in an argument, and you say, they always will stay on the money track. They always clear the account, or we never have extra money at the end of the month because she has a spending problem in the mall. Okay. Right? This happens all the time. It happens all the time. So what are you getting? This is a good question. Mm-hmm. And then the trade-off would be, well, like if I asked you, what's the trade-off? Well, we have kids together and I just don't want them to not have a mom. Okay, that's understandable. Or I'm still highly attracted to her and in love with her. Okay, right? We can even get deeper on those trade-offs. Number 2, you've constructed a story that there's no way out. Someone can come along and go, hey, let me look at this another way. And you're like, no. There's no way out of this. We're in this for life. We're married, man. We got 5 kids. We have a mortgage. I just can't do it. What I would suggest, even if you can't do it, play a game with yourself. If you could do it, how would it look? Well, then I'd have to get a divorce. Then we'd have to sell the house. We maybe clear 30,000. We have to split that. I don't know who would get the kids. All right, just write it out. So then you can just look at it in a different way where you're like, there is a way out. I just don't want to do that because the consequence is too high. Still write it out so you can prove to yourself, actually, there might be some other options you're not seeing.
Or it's not as comfortable.
Right. So when you're deadlocked on a story, like there's no way out, there's nothing I can do, I'm stuck. Play with the idea of like, if I wasn't stuck, what are some options I would have? And journal it out, or talk to someone like me, a coach, and say that to me. And I'll just start asking you some questions, and then I'll come up with things like, actually, I remember years back, I had a client write in and she was in a bad situation. The guy she was with, they had a kid that was a newborn, I think under a year. Guy was a bad alcoholic, bad drug addict. She had invested money in a gardening or maintenance service that he was doing with his cousins or something like that. And he was just a bad character. And she had lost her job because of him. She didn't have any money in the bank. She felt trapped.
Right.
And I said, well, look, and this is through email. I said, well, do you have any friends or family you can go stay with if you left? Because this was getting really bad. Mm-hmm. And she said, no, I don't talk to my parents. She had a really restricted relationship with her parents. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, this is a time if your problem with your mom or dad is something that over a debate when you're, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Is it that this is a time that you call on them? You got to get out of there. And she says, I do have one friend, but I don't want to trouble her. I said, call that friend. Call that friend and give them the opportunity to say no to you. And if they say no to you, fine. But if they open their door and you got a couch to stay on for a few months, you got to get out of this situation. This guy was verbally abusive. He was just a bad, the story made my spine tingle, what she was talking about. I'm not going to get into all those details. But when we broke it down, she was scared to ask for help from other people. It wasn't just like a loss of money. It was like a losing a face. And she ended up calling up that friend. She actually called up one of her parents, reconciled a bit with them. They said, come live with me. And she got out. And now I think it's like 4 or 5 years later, she's doing great. She had to go through a phase, and she's got her kid. I've seen her kid before, posted pictures on Instagram and different things like that. But she felt stuck. And just when we had the little bit of a email exchange where I was like, well, do you have any family members that, well, I couldn't go to this person. I can't. Is it really that? Close the door. Give them the opportunity to help you. Give them the opportunity to say no. All right. Number 3, you believe they will crumble without you. So this is a big one for codependent. Mm-hmm. They're an alcoholic. They're broke. Mm-hmm. They're a drug addict. They have money issues. And so without you, they'll crumble. What you really are saying is all crumble without them, but you don't know it. What you see in them, see in you. Mm-hmm. So you kind of cling to this idea. If I leave, then they're not going to be able to do their laundry. They're not going to be able to do anything. They're not going to be able to do anything without me. It's like, well, if that's your trade-off in an inevitable dead-end relationship, just know what it is. But also take a step back and go, do I believe I'll crumble without them? No, I'll be fine. Okay. Do you really think that it's that important that you're around? If that's true, the only way that they'll change, possibly, is to be alone and have to do their own thing, right? Number 4, there's kids involved and you choose to put that over the relationship. Now that's admirable in some cases. It is. It's understandable. I know people that stayed in a marriage where they got cheated on or there was issues, and they said that we'll stay in it, we'll work through it. If you're going to do that, you have to both be on board that you're going to work through it. It's not one of those things where you're just like, well, we'll stay together for the kids, but we'll still not like each other. Because the kid's going to notice. It's going to get worse for the kid, right? Also, you're not betting on the fact that, you know what, if I If we get a divorce or we stop being together, I can still be a good parent. I can still do my best to have the same relationship we have now of co-parenting. But when you live together and you're miserable, right? Then you got to take 2 steps back and go, is this good for my kid? Actually? Because kids notice. And then they take sides. They notice when things aren't right. Number 5, you're scared of being hurt and starting over. I totally get this one, right? You know it's inevitable. You know it's bad. You know your partner's never going to stop drinking anytime soon. They have these spending habits that are really bad. That's not going to change. You know it. You're like, and this is what's crazy is most people that don't understand psychology, or like myself, I've worked with a lot of different people. People can change. They need consequences. They need ground zero. They need time. They don't change in a day. But what they don't do, they don't change when you tell them to, like, hey, I really would like you to stop coming home late. If that's their habit, that's not enough to change them, because it's just a little bit of words. It's kind of like when you were a teenager and you kind of tested people. Maybe you had a teacher that let you come in late, 10 minutes late, or you had a job that you were allowed to come in 10 or 15 minutes late and you'll always be late because there's no consequences. But if that manager called you in the office and said, hey, next time you're late, I'm going to fire you. That might be something where you're like, you know what, I better start coming on time. But if the person's habitually doing it, they might still do it. So you being scared of being hurt and starting over, you probably are telling yourself, well, I just need to tell them what they need to do. I just need to tell them what they need to do. I just need to tell them this. If that's not working, it's just not going to change, right? Being hurt, if you look at your life or you look at your grandparents or your aunts or your uncles, if you look at their everyone has moments, man. This is what good movies are, right? This is where the book gets good. So it sucks. It's bad. But if it's your first time being hurt from a bad breakup, it'll probably be the worst, right? But starting over, I mean, there's a lot of movies about this, right? There's a lot of stories of friends, you look at them and you're like, wow, I remember having some friends that were just in bits and pieces over a breakup, and you witness it and you're like, damn, Ronnie looks horrible lately. Like, you and your friends are like, geez, man, what are we going to do? We got to get him out. Oh my God.
Right.
It's like, and you think like, let's just get him up. And maybe a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, he has a new girlfriend or a new wife. He's got a better job. It just, the part that people hate is the time. It just takes time. That's the part that sucks.
Just that waiting it out.
But if you look at it, most of the time, if you've seen other people that have gone through things like that, right? If you look at ball players, like basketball is a sport I really follow. A lot of times the guy's a rookie, right? He needs 2 or 3 years to develop. He gets better and better. It's the same thing out of your breakup. It's going to take a little bit of time and growing pains. But if you look at your relationship inevitably being dead, in other words, like it's never going to get better, you're really playing not to lose. And really, you can get through that. You can kind of, but if you do that for too long, I've had another client, they were married 20 years. He did it, he waited till he was 50, and that wasn't so bad because getting out is getting out, right? Mm-hmm. But it's better if you get out a little bit earlier, right?
Right.
It's better. You believe, number 6, these are bonus ones. You believe in potential to change. You believe that there's potential to change. Like if you just started doing this, and I've been there, and there's hints dropped. Women usually drop hints like, wow, it'd be nice if you kind of made more money. It would be nice if you dressed a little bit better. It would be nice, right? They just drop these little, and then guys will be like, I can't believe she said that. Can't believe she said that to me. Like, she said that to me? It's like, well, it's actually a hint of like what's bothering her. You can take it personal. You could do something about it, or you could just be the same. But the potential to change is always there. Everyone has the ability to change. Usually people have to come up with the idea themselves, or there has to be consequences. For example, people that love to go to the gym, Miguel Coronado, right? People that love to go to the gym. And then the people that get really into like weightlifting and bodybuilding, they usually had a consequence where they were younger. And I'm not saying this about the great Miguel Coronado, But there's usually something that happened when they were young that's driving them to have a really good body, right? They felt like when they were in high school, they were short or they weren't in really good shape or they got made fun of. So that drives them. And that's the potential to change. Does that make sense? So, my point is the potential to change is always there, but people need to find the reason for the change. You just telling them, hey, it would be great if you started going to the gym and working out and got rid of all that belly fat. And they're like, yeah, I know, but I can't. I can't stop eating fast food. I can't. And you're like, yeah, you can. They don't have the reason in their head to do it.
Mhm.
But are you just saying it to them, but you're still with them? What do they lose? They can go on living the same life, doing the same things. Consequences are what drive change in my book. Some people go, oh, it doesn't have to be consequences. Give me another example. It's usually some kind of consequence. It's like, why do people go to a job that they're not really happy with? It's really good pay. That's your trade-off.
Mhm.
I got benefits. I got that. I got this, right? Why don't you change your job? Well, you're getting something for it. Now, if the boss goes, hey, you need to up your sales, you need to do this, or you're going to lose your job, you're going to change. You might come in earlier. You might do more things. Number 7, you blindly follow them in the name of love. You believe their lies. This is big. This isn't everyone, but in inevitable, bad, dead-end relationships, it's not always involved with a liar, but usually there's some kind of issue that you keep having and that one person's lying about. Oh, okay, next week we'll do family day. Well, it'll be different. I'm sorry for coming home late at night. I'm sorry for hanging out with my buddies all night. Next time it'll be different. In the name of love, you want to believe them. In the name of potential, you believe their lies. They might even believe their lies. But again, if they know you're going to take that lie or accept that, they're going to keep doing the same thing because there's no consequences. Number 8, this is a big one. You don't listen to your intuition. Now, let me break this down. I like intuition. I think intuition's true. I think some people's intuition's wrong. Okay? Because people make up, you know what I mean? It's like, well, if I do this, this, and this, I'll get lucky and win the lottery. Okay, that's a stretch. But your intuition is better with situations that you're more familiar with and you have experience with. Okay? So if you have a partner for 8 years, your intuition about them is going to be better because you know them. Subconsciously, you know when they do, you know what I mean? You know, you don't know it or how you know, but you notice just a change in their mannerisms when you're around them. You notice a change in the way they start talking. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It just, and you're like, something's off. Now that's an intuition I can vibe with. If someone's on their first or second date and they're like, just intuitively, I thought this guy's a creep. It's like, all right, possibly correct. That's a little bit more of a stretch that would be stereotypical or something. Oh, this woman I'm dating, she's just a hoe. It's like, how do you know that? Psh, the way she's dressed. That's not intuition. That's assumption, right? Now, if she starts telling you, well, I go out every weekend and I don't even care who I sleep with, this and that, well, then maybe you have some grounds, right? Intuition in a relationship is actually different. Did the sound go out? Can you hear it?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Anyone else say the sound went out? Here I am going on and on and on and on and on. So,
Some of the best content I've heard.
listen to your intuition if it's especially a longer relationship. So if you're having these arguments, you're having these fights, you're feeling like something's off here, or you have this little voice in your head and everyone's like, what are you talking about? You know you got a little voice in your head, right? And you got this little voice like, leave. Let her go. Don't stay in this relationship. It's bad. And you're like, hey, how are you, hon?
Pushing that down.
How's everything going? Oh, it's great. Great to see you. Great to hear from you. Deep down in that gut core, you're like, right? You You're just crushed. And then you're around your friends. Your friends are like, what's wrong? Nothing. Because you got this black soot inside of you that's just sitting there because you're just faking a relationship you're not happy, and it hurts you. Right? Because really in your head, you're like, I just want out of this. I just want out. Like, get out. I know something's not right here. Intuition with someone you've been with a long time, I can go with that. I often will tell people, you know her better than I do. Let me ask you some questions. All right. So we do have some stories on deck. Let me know if you have anything about that. Mr. Sammy. Hi, Mac. It's still rare and unpopular taboo on YouTube, but more fathers are quietly ghosting the ex and their kids and just moving by themselves. Put a new girl and restart a new family. Ghosting the ex and their kids? Wow.
Just like, all right, I'm out.
I mean, I know friends that had fathers that they've never met. The kids aren't too happy about it, but they did okay. I don't know the scenarios that push that. I don't know if that's being pushed on YouTube, but that's got to be agreement between the ex. That's obviously, a case-by-case situation where, they have financials involved with the kid. If someone's debilitated for some reason, there's all kinds of things. I've heard of a story where there was like a hunting accident, and it was boyfriend, girlfriend. They had been together 4 years. The ex-husband of this lady that was his girlfriend, if you can follow me on that, had a hunting accident and was basically couldn't walk for like 2 years. So he moved back in the house with the ex-wife who was my client's girlfriend.
Wow.
The guy was shot like in the hip. Right? So he was like, okay, he can stay there for a little while. The guy ended up staying for 2 years, 2 or 3 years. And, I helped buy the house, and it's, and the ex-wife took care of him. What an awkward situation. Now, when someone goes, oh, men should do this, women should do that. How about that story? I don't know. That's a tough one. The guy had no money. He had I wouldn't want to be in that situation.
Right.
But it's pretty nuanced, right? So it destroyed me, man. Then reborn. It's called resurrection, my friend. If you look at the hero's journey from the great Joseph Campbell, which is very popular, and it's how most movies follow. Most movies follow the hero's journey, if anyone's familiar with that. And that's basically, you have a problem, you have a call of action, then you have more problems, then you meet a mentor, coach, priest that helps you out with some guidance. And then you start resurrecting your life. And this is the part of the movie where someone has to jump down the waterfall, like The Fugitive. In The Fugitive, how many movies have had a moment where someone has to jump in the...
They have to make that decision?
Yeah, they have to jump.
Yep.
That's the part of the movie where it starts to change. Apocalypto is one of my favorite, right?
Yeah.
I am Jaguar Paul. Like, it totally shifts everything. He's tired of being scared the whole time. Now he gets resourceful. Now he looks at everything that he has to go against this. His running away from the people that are trying to kill him and hurt him change. It's kind of like that. That's the shift in your breakup. At some point you change in the sense like, I got more resources than I think. I got more options than I think, and you start using them. But before that happens, you need a call of action. You need to talk to a mentor, a coach, someone else, not get a bunch of bad material. Dude, some people don't recover. Why? Don't worry about those people. But if you go look, I live in paradise. I live in a beautiful tropical island. There's people complaining around me. Oh my God, there's so many people here right now. It's still beautiful, right? Some people don't recover. Why? If that's your assessment or that's what they say, maybe that's their karma. I don't know. But I would also say that it's very hard to diagnose other people's feelings. Like, you think, well, this person feels this. You don't really know. You don't really know. Like, I know someone that said he is not over his ex and it's been like 5 years. I would ask why. I'd be like, what are you holding on to, or what's going on? What was the scenario? There was a client I had that he went dormant. When I say dormant, he wasn't intimately active.
Wasn't dating or
mating. Yeah, that's a good word. For like 10 years. And he was early 30s. Like early 30s. But you know what? He had a really bad drug problem. And after his breakup when he was 21, 22, he had some family problems. He had a close relative go to jail. He had all this drama in his life.
there was stuff going on.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah.
And his high school sweetheart, who he broke up with, we went back to that story. It was a horrible, traumatic breakup. Like, she got physical with him. She like punched him in the car, told him that no one liked him. It was really bad. And he was carrying that. It really hurt him. So we did some work. We did some hypnosis. We did some emotional freedom technique, the tapping, and we loosened all that up. And I just made him realize not everyone, that statement that she threw in at the end, like, nobody likes you. It stayed with him. Mm-hmm. So sometimes when someone's not getting over it, Miguel, there's something that's not that. There's a moment within the breakup where someone said something and someone just grabs that
and holds on to it.
And people will come back to, you know what she said to me? And it's like, I'm not saying it wasn't a big deal. All I'm saying is it was 10 minutes. It was 5 minutes. It hurt you, but it doesn't define you. Now, sometimes you need to break that up. But if you take it and never talk about it again for 10 years, it's just bubbling around in you. Mm-hmm. And then every time you go to meet someone, you're like, oh, I remember what my ex said to me. So I would say that guy needs to book a live coaching session, Miguel. Gray divorce is dangerous. You might not recover. You will be too old to recover. God help you if it happens to you. What do you mean by gray divorce?
I think it's like, just when you're older is what I'm guessing.
I don't like to guess.
Sounds like that's the...
Because I think gray area.
Right. But I was thinking like gray hair. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, because sometimes people, I've had clients that are in their 50s that got divorced. I've had 60s. It just depends on the situation. Some of them are thankful it's over. So, God help you if it happens to you. Everyone is built differently. Some guys are very emotional. They will need more help in therapy. Absolutely. That's absolutely true. The sensitivity, the triggers are all different. I absolutely agree. And that's why therapy or coaching or setting up a session with myself, like, you got to start looking outside of yourself to get, this is going to sound crazy, inside of yourself. So a lot of what you're looking for is external, right? So for example, someone has a bad breakup, they have money, they go out and buy like a Porsche. This will make me feel better, man. I got post a bunch of pictures. They got a 911. They're, it's like from the outside in, everyone's going, wow, nice car, man. Cool. Does it really make you feel that much better if you're hurting inside? Maybe for 10 minutes. But the reality is, friends, family, and colleagues, for about 10 minutes, they'll think like, oh, cool car. But they're not really as excited as you would think. Right? Yeah. They're like, oh, cool. Like if B got a 911 Porsche, I'd be like, right on, man. Cool. Like, I'm happy for you, but I wouldn't spend like days and nights going, oh my God, this is it. It's a very short window of, right? Anything that you buy that's an external, external thing that's materialistic of use, right? It has kind of a shelf life of how happy it makes you. I'd say one of the biggest things that you should spend money on that's really worth it is a computer. Because it's for your work, it's for your livelihood, right? Sure. You're going to get use out of it every day.
I'll let you borrow the car.
Right?
I'll let you borrow it.
Oh, your Porsche?
Yeah. You could take it out.
You understand my point, though, is that when you get into good therapy, and this is why I like hypnosis, you got to get internal. So you close your eyes, you get into a space, you get deep within you. It's soul-based. That might be a little deep for some people, but it's different. Right? When you're talking to your friend, a lot of external things going on, right? You're all over the place. You're thinking about different. You can't organize the material and get into actually inside of your head. Like something is changing, man, since the hypnosis. I feel better. Yeah, we had a good hypnosis session, Miguel. It makes a difference. A good hypnosis session, you won't know why. You'll just go, I feel different. Like something really shifted. I just had one 2 weeks ago. Big shift. Everyone's like, whoa, what do you mean? I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to
personally, you had one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just where you're at with something. You might be in a place with your work, with some relationships, with something in the past, and you're just rigidly hanging on to a storyline or a narrative about something. But during hypnosis, you can nudge out of that and go, oh, maybe I was just clinging to the wrong narrative or the wrong set. You open up to more resources.
Get unstuck.
Yeah. Don't know how people get over it without seeking help. Usually alcohol and drugs,
self-medication. Like
some people just if people are really good and that's their character, like, you know, I can get over anything, or they're hard workers and they go to the gym, like they can,
very independent.
Yeah. They can. They tend to hold things though over time more. I've been interested in hypnosis therapy and would love to hear more about what exactly the process is like. Well, B, I've done it for you before. What did you feel like it was?
Well, it wasn't like I, expected. I thought it was, I wasn't under, I think, I don't know, it helped me look at things a little bit differently. I kind of, processed situations a little bit differently. I don't know. It was really good. I felt really relaxed after. It was.
And you were surprised when you opened your eyes that you went in.
I went in for sure.
Because you were thinking in the beginning, like, I probably won't go. I probably won't. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I knew he was too. I was like, you want to just try it? He goes, yeah, I'll try it. But I could tell by his look, like, I don't think it's going to happen. And then, like, when he opened his eyes, he's like. So it's one of those things. I would say that in a nutshell, hypnosis is getting to that really calm, meditative state.
Exactly. Yeah.
Turning off all the external, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you don't know how much you take in with your vision, right? Mm-hmm. And then when I'm guiding you or talking to you, you get really focused on the topic or the things I'm asking you. Because hypnotherapy is not always just guided, where I'm just feeding you lines. It can be where I ask you questions.
Like a back and forth.
Yeah. And so when I ask you questions, you're completely dialed into the topic. And when I ask you open questions, you can get a little deeper. I feel my fear when I hear hypnosis is not having control of my body, but when I've heard it talked about in lives and sounds, a little more relaxing. Oh no,
that's totally the.
Did you feel that way?
Like where you? No, you're in total control.
Exactly.
You're just in a relaxed state. It's just you're very relaxed.
So an example is I've talked to clients before on Zoom that, and Zoom works really good for this, and they're sometimes laying in bed or something like that, clothes on, right? So they're laying in bed and they might fall asleep. But if I say a word or I say something that they don't like, you can literally see them go, because they don't need to accept everything I say. Mm-hmm. I could say something that's off and they won't accept it. So that's my point. Hypnosis is not like you have no free will and I'm going to mind control you. No way. And now really hypnosis, a lot of people are just using different names for it, like guided meditation, like my channel, Clean Mind Today. I use the term guided meditation, but it's really similar to hypnosis. But when you really get into your problems, I feel like for me, the reason why I like to do it, the reason why I went and did a program on it, put a lot of hours into it, because it's my favorite form of therapy. So, and you feel better afterwards. You feel refreshed. Everyone wants to meditate. So why wouldn't you meditate almost during going through your issue? Mm-hmm. It also works really good for manifestation. Like if you want to get a new job or a new house, a lot of times imagining you're in a better place and just being guided instead of you going like, how do I manifest this? It's like, so
I'd actually like to do that, because that's what we didn't do. I don't think we went there on the meditation that I did.
I took you to Tahoe.
That was cool.
You were there too.
I actually felt like
legitimately,
yeah.
So you told me you wanted to go to Lake Tahoe and you wanted to be with a certain group of people, and you were there.
Yep.
Well, don't look far, Sam. You can book it online with me if you want. All right, so we got some stories here. And like I said, Sam, if you want to check out the other channel, Clean Mind Today, maybe you already did.
Yeah, get started on the videos.
Yeah.
That's a good step.
But I think Miguel's done it before. If it's Sammy that I'm thinking of that's been a client of mine before, I've done one with him before that I think he thought was really good. I know he's told me it was good, so I shouldn't say I think. Brand new Skinner's never tried it. He doesn't need any therapy. Skinner's a legend in his own right. But yeah, I wouldn't say that hypnosis, like I said, you don't need it just for therapy. I've had a couple clients that have used it for, manifesting things that came true that were really good. So this is where I'm shifting things to. So let's see here. All right. Breakup stories. Ready? Freddie? Machete?
Let's get it.
Are you guys ready? Eric Kendall, Mac with a K. I prefer a C, but that's okay. You can call me Mock. I watched you during my breakup. I appreciate what you do and help me. Well, thank you, Eric. I appreciate you too. Thank you very kindly. Throw a super chat if you like. If not, that's all good too. Thank yous are always appreciated.
And likes are very much appreciated.
Yeah, that's true, huh? Yeah, have you guys ever noticed that have been on my channel for a while and stuff? Like I never do the, hey, like and subscribe, or smash that subscribe button, smash that like button. You know how many times I've had like friends or people that do, you got to do that. And I'm like, I don't want to do it because everyone does. And if you could right now, smash the like button. Yeah.
I'm going to clip that, what you just did, and just put it on every video.
Good. Could you smash the like button? Don't hit the like button. Smash it, man. And you know what? It's funny because other channels will go like, actually, we get a lot of likes and things, but subscribers is what drive it up. So can you subscribe to me to help the channel? It's like, I'm always like, I'll subscribe because I want to watch your content, not because I want your channel just to grow. So I think the live streams have been getting better and better. I know B feels like he's made a big difference. He's told me numerous times. He's like, dude, I think since I've come on here and helped you out a little bit, been in the background, he goes, I've noticed this big uptick. If you guys feel like that's true, give him a pat on the back. He's made a big deal out of it to me recently. And I was like, you know what? Okay, cool, man. I really appreciate your efforts. I don't know if that's true. Been doing this for 5 years on my own, but I just appreciate it. It's all right. So if you guys want to comment on that, go, yeah, B, I've been outstanding. Great vocals. All right. So let's get into this first story. Let me see. Hello. I broke up with my girlfriend 12 days ago, and I actually feel relieved and good. I miss her in moments and think about the good qualities, but as soon as we broke up and I got my first night's sleep alone, I felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. Okay. Why are you writing me?
Everything's good, right?
Right?
Yeah, we're good.
It's like, I would say stay in the breakup then. This is why it's good to write these things. She was just the type that if she got mad about something, it was like a slow moving volcano that you were waiting for an eruption, but she'd hold it and just ignore me and give me a stare of death. Well, it sounds like you got out of a bad relationship. Individuals that ignore, there can be a place for that, right? To calm yourself down. If it's hours or a stare, like an evil eye, not an eagle eye.
You could feel it.
Yeah, it's like, okay. But like if they carry that for hours, that's a problem. That means they're emotionally unstable. She would just amp herself up over some problem that wasn't that big. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. It wasn't that big a problem to you. So we all do this. It's like, why are you so upset about this? It's like, actually, it's a big problem for her. You got to, But then she'd go straight to, let's break up. I want to break up with you. So that's a problem because that's gun to the head. kneecap type negotiations. When you're in love and you're in a good relationship, that's a very hard space to be put into. Individuals that do that just want to win every time they're upset with you. They don't want to talk about it. They don't have good communication. And they actually have learned that somewhere along their childhood or past relationships. They've used that and it works. The problem with it, the minute you keep doing it, they'll keep using it every time they're in the situation. And the problem for them is one day you're going to go, you know what? C'est la vie. And she'd be dead serious. And then if I was sorry enough and basically gave in, we would make up and hook up, and then she'd let it go. So then for you, there's a carrot at the end of the stick, right? So like for you, in the back of your subconscious mind's like, all right, we can hook up too. Maybe this is a good thing you're mad at me. It became this process till finally the last time she brought up breaking up, I asked if she needed help packing. She looked a little surprised, and I told her it was okay. And then I was tired of doing this, and she agreed, and then told me she'd have to come back for her stuff. So right there, you want to break up, go ahead and get your stuff right now. It's like, give me a few hours, because she wants to see.
He stopped playing the game.
She wants to see if you change your mind, because she's used to following her. When she came back, I wasn't home on purpose. I gave her sufficient time to pack, but she was still home when I got there. So I said hello, and then went to my computer and put my headphones on. And in the end, she talked to me before she left, and she was acting kind and sweet.
Okay.
Because she was surprised, probably.
Right. Yeah, she didn't know where to go.
If you always make up and you always say sorry first, she's like, what did I miss here? There's something wrong. Did you want to kiss my ass?
Hey, you're not following the playbook.
We started talking, then she got angry again, saying I never cared about her. It was almost like a bizarre victim fest. Great writing. And I was the bad guy, and honestly, I've been a pretty good boyfriend, and my past girlfriends would agree. Well, I guess I'll believe you if you say so. I just have never been in a relationship like this. Like I said, I felt relieved and energized once she left. Well,
that tells you something, I guess, right there.
Put that in a pipe and smoke it, man. Now, 12 days later, I find myself thinking of maybe calling her, but I know things wouldn't change with us or her act. Well, let me just ask you this. You're a male, right? If the reason why you're maybe calling her, and some people are going to be like, oh, it's not that. It's like, is it intimacy? Is it
kind of, yeah.
If you ask yourself, why do I really feel this way? Maybe I'm wrong. Wouldn't change us with her act. We've been together for nearly 2 years. I'd say she's tried to break up with me 8 times.
8 times in 2 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Only to get back with me saying sorry or us hooking up, and she'd even admit that she overreacted later on. Well, that's good that she's able to admit that she was wrong. I would say then that's when you bring in a hypnotherapist or someone to get to the bottom of these problems. Sure. Like if she's open to getting therapy about it and changing her act, if she comes to her senses later on, that might be workable. Is there any hope for her to change? I just told you what I thought. If she was willing to say, like, I know I overreact. I know I have bad communication. I shouldn't be doing this. Let me see if I go to a hypnotherapist or a coach or someone else out there and talk to an outside party that's going to be honest with me and find the root of where that's coming from. Like I said, that sounds like something she did in childhood and got away with it and got her ice cream when she cried.
So it's worked.
I feel like she'd have to come back to me and realize that. But at the very end, she put it on me and asked me, what do you want? Do you want me to stay? And I just said no. So technically, I guess in her eyes, I broke up with her. Well, there's the classic, now you're the bad guy.
You're the bad guy, yeah. You're the bad guy.
And that's not good either. I think you did the right thing. If she tried to break up with you 8 times, it's kind of like, this time I want you to see what it's like.
Don't keep playing this.
Right. You want to play with fire? See if the house burns down. All right. And there's got to be a consequence. So do I have to call her first then? And another thing to add, she told me the question about having to call her first, if you want to get back with her and you wanted to call her first, I would say in this particular case, go ahead. Just know exactly what you want. So if you want her to stop these breakup to makeup scenarios or overreactions, what's going to be the remedy? Like, she's got to go to therapy. What is she going to do? Because it will happen again. Right? If it happened 8 times in 2 years, it'll happen again. I would probably say if you called her, I'm just guessing, if she acts this way, she's going to be upset and hurt, and she's probably going to be non-receptive. Go ahead and try, though, because then you got clarity, and then you can go, all right, if you're going to be non-receptive in that, this was your chance to get back together. That being said, like I always say, if you're going to call, you get rejected, now leave it alone. From what you've told me, I would leave it alone unless she's willing to have a talk where you talk about, you've done this 8 times. How are you going to overcome this? And she believes it's a problem. If she doesn't believe it's a problem and she's just pointing the finger that you're wrong and you're not good for her, it won't change. So technically, I guess in her eyes, I broke up. I'm sorry. And another thing to add, she told me multiple times that when she breaks up, she'll never talk to you again. It's easy for her to delete people from her life. All right, well, she's playing a playbook that she's programmed in her own program. The good thing for you is you know that. So when you're in no contact right now and you're like, oh, I can't believe she didn't call. This is her program. This is who she believes she is. She doesn't believe she has a choice. This is a real problem with stubborn people. They actually believe it's embedded in them, and they're somehow proud. If she mentioned this to you multiple times, it's kind of like, I'm tough. Really? The problem with that is there's certain people you need to delete in your life. But then if you use that regularly, you're probably going to delete some situations where you overreacted or there was a good relationship there and you didn't want to talk about. Instead, you just want to win. I think I know this relationship wasn't good for me long term, but if she could just get her emotions right, I forgot to mention she's 35 and I'm 39. It felt like, well, thanks for the age at the end. That helps. She could just get her emotions right. I forgot to mention, if she's 35 and she's acting this way, good luck. But she would definitely need help to get through that. But it sounds like if she's being rewarded afterwards, there's a pattern here. It felt like sometimes she was acting like a spoiled teenager. Sounds like it. Spoiled teenager act at 35? That's no bueno. That's tough. That's tough. Mm-hmm. Now, saying that, you haven't said any other problems, compared to some other people's problems. I'm going to guess she was highly attractive and there were some good things there. And that's why you stuck it out for 2 years. But anytime someone wants to break up when you have an argument or they have a problem with you, I just feel like they don't understand like what a long-term relationship is. You're allowed to be mad at each other. You're allowed to have problems. You're allowed to be pissed for a day.
But taking it to the extreme like that?
But taking it to breakup puts the other person on their back foot to like, really? Mm-hmm. Like, come on. And then what happens? They create a situation where they're upset and now you're licking their boots, right? Because you're like, I don't want to break up. So the scenario stops from like, we have a problem about money. We have a problem about, I don't like your sister. We have a problem about something. It turns into like, I'll break up with you. That's a different problem. That's like, okay, don't do that. Okay, you win. Come on.
BB, what's up, man? Brian Union, what's going on?
I feel like B is a big B.
Big B.
Mr. BB, how you doing? Brian Union, always a pleasure. All right, next story. I got a situation where I'm currently in a dead end relationship, and I know it. I was cheated on, and she confirmed it. Then I accepted it because I just wanted to make things work. All right. So first and foremost, someone might be in the chat or the comments like, "Oh, I would never accept that. I would never do that." Listen, everyone is allowed to do whatever they want in their own relationships. Someone can forgive someone, and if it was confirmed, one of the values in that is not wondering, did they or did they not? Because the open loop in the mind really fucks with you. Knowing that if they told you, like, I did this, now you can go, hey, at least you told me. Now I can decide what I want to do with that. When they're lying or when you're not sure, that's more difficult, actually, because the mind wants to complete that.
It wanders. Like, what?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Whereas if they were taking text or doing things and you never confirm it, mm-hmm. If they go, hey, I've been cheating, like, and you guys have a sit down and you stay together, now you have a decision. Like, I'll forgive you this time, but never again, or whatever you want to staple in there, right? So all those people out there in the comments, oh, once a cheater, always a cheater. I would never do it. People can accept what they want and forgive what they want to forgive for in their own relationship. Stop trying to impose your own thing. And by the way, until you're in that situation, don't judge. Because if you're in love with someone, it's difficult.
That can be tough.
I haven't had that happen to me directly. I've had many coaching clients. It's not cut and dry. It's not, right? We have 2 children under 5. I've been a stay-at-home father for most of that time. Well, thank you. Thank you for your service. I've had friends and relatives that have done that before, and I think that's completely fine. I think that having a parent home when the kids are young is a complete privilege, and it's a good thing for raising your kids. So whether that's the mother or the father, right? While she works as a manager at a retail store, she makes double the money I make, as I have an investment that pays me a fixed sum every month. But I'll admit it's not a lot by today's standards. Okay. Now a year later, I mean, if you were putting your kids first, kids being 2 under 5, and being on deck with them, that's going to save you nanny and babysitter fees. So when you really, a friend of mine that used to do this, and he was a stay-at-home dad, and he did a good job, right? But if he was working full-time, what would the fees be? Like some places in California, babysitters and preschools, they're really expensive.
Crazy expensive. Yeah.
Really expensive. I know in the San Francisco Bay Area, it's like $1,800, $2,000 a month for like after-school daycare. A friend of mine, I was like, wow. So when you look at like, oh, I'm not making as much, if you got two kids, not one, you're actually saving money. So it's not just I'm not contributing. You are. Now a year later, after the initial knowledge of her cheating, we continue to live together, but basically agreed that we were friends with benefits. All right. Again, people in the comments are probably going, oh, hell no, I would never do that. Go ahead and try it. It's possible that it would work. Okay. It's possible. It's going to be difficult because that's your baby's kids.
Right. Like, how do you just
it's going to be
those feelings off? Or yeah,
it's difficult. Now, if you want to try it, go for it. The only problem is that I'm the primary parent. So she uses me to be the full-time babysitter while she stays out for 2 or 3 days at a time. So this is where it comes in. This is unfair. So she has a little bit of edge on the friends with benefits because she gets a babysitter regularly and you don't.
She's taking advantage of that.
It's not, yeah. So then you're like, well, this isn't, I want to do friends and benefits, but I want an equal, right? I get where you're coming from, but this is where it becomes a problem, right? Whereas if you were monogamous and together, you might go, well, she's working, she's doing this, so I can take that load. But if she's going to go out and meet other dudes, possibly party it up, it's like, no, I don't want to be babysitting for you then.
Then it's not a great thing.
But what I would say to this guy is I would say, look, it's admirable that you're putting your kids first. I don't think you're going to regret that on your deathbed and go, oh my God, I wish I wasn't with my kids. And I was the one that was friends with benefits and had more privileges. You probably on your deathbed go, I'm glad I got to spend that time with my kids. Right. That being said, this just proves to you, like, I don't want to do this long term. Okay. So the experiment's over, I hope. Then we will hook up and sleep together. And I'll think, so just to go back, I'm the primary parent. So she uses me to be the full-time babysitter while she stays out for 2 or 3 days at a time. Then we will hook up and sleep together. And I'll think, well, as long as I'm getting that, I'm assuming intimacy.
Right. And I'm assuming it's pretty good. So.
Right.
Or else why would you even,
Well, it might not just be good. It might just be the only piece of pie you have.
Maybe, yeah.
So if that's the case too, water in the desert's always really good, whether it's water from a well or from a puddle, because it's the only fucking water in town. So a lot of, it's great. It's like, have you had anything else? Right? Right? Have you had anything else?
Right.
I'm not putting you down, but right, like I said, it's great. It's like, well, it's the only show in town, man. Of course it is. Then we'll hook up, sleep together, well, as long as I'm getting that. I know we still have this connection. I believe you, but now I'm just getting to a point where it's gone too far. If we are to live together and she wants to take advantage of me taking care of the kids so she can stay out all night and not call me, then I've got to go. All right, so read that line again to yourself. This is why it's good to write your story out. Okay?
There was a line.
And like I said, a lot of people look at stuff like this and go, oh man, I would just be out. Not that simple. I've had guys that are 6'3", 6'4", big dudes, contracting type guys. They're crying to me, talking about, man, I'm going to have to leave the kids and she's going to be the primary parent. But to her face, it's like, we'll just do what we got to do. Like, this is hard. This is difficult stuff. The only problem is financially, I'm very low on money. And as much as I don't want to admit it, I'm somewhat financially dependent on her. And she makes more money than I do. All right. So, beautiful. That's your problem. Focus on that rather than, oh, she does this, she does that, she does this. Focus on, I got to get my money right. I don't think you're going to be Donald Trump tomorrow, but how am I going to start generating some money, or at least have some finish lines where I feel good moving forward? Now, if you have that investment that you have, relook at that investment and how you can get some more income right now. Otherwise, look into what you want to do, your training, but that's your problem. The problem is, so a lot of times, this is great. Stay with me. A lot of times you're thinking, she stays out all the time, she takes advantage of me. Yeah, that's a problem, but that's not really the problem for you to move. You're like, I'm done with it. The problem is, if I had money or more money, then I'd be out ski for sure, right? So that's the problem you need to focus on. Now, again, go ahead and buy some lotto tickets or something, because you're like, oh shit, man. No, figure out what are my options. Really sit down with it. Talk to someone that's better with money. Get some opinions, because that's actually your underlying problem. But you'll probably in your head go, can't believe she's doing this to me. Can't believe she's out. Can't believe we're not working out. Can't believe we're not. The problem's this. And then you can start making some moves. That being said, it's still going to hurt, still going to upset you. But this is the problem to focus on, not the things that you can't control with her. I'm thinking I could get a loan from a family member, but then what? I haven't been in a workforce in a while, and I love being there for my kids, but now both of them have preschool all day, so I could work, just don't know where to start. All right, do an ikigai. I've talked about this before. Do something where you look at your life and you go, what am I good at? What does the world need? What would people pay me for? Those are 3 questions to start with. What am I good at? What does the world need? And what would people pay me for? That's a really good start. Someone might go, oh, follow your passion. You got 2 kids. I don't know if you got to follow your passion right now. You could eventually.
Yeah.
But you could look at it and go, actually, you also I've talked about this before. Look at the 3 things or 4 things that you're world class at. Now, people are going to go, what do you mean? It's like there's something that you're really good at that you just take for granted. Okay? Now, listen to me. You're in the top 20% of a lot of probably 3 or 4 things in the world. You don't even know it. Top 20% is like, because we all share different things, right? For me, you want to know what I'm in the top 20% in the world? Speaking English. Now, someone's like, what? What do you mean? Think about it. Does the rest of the world speak English? I don't know what the percentages of English-speaking people in the world is. So when I went to teach abroad years back, I've created, right? So you wouldn't see that if you lived in America. You wouldn't go, oh, no, it's not really a vital thing. But in other areas, it is. Right? So you might be a novice golfer, but you're still probably top 20% in the world if you really think about it, because, 80% of the world doesn't play golf. Does that make sense? So like when you start getting into it, you're like, wait a minute, there's a few things I'm pretty good at that I kind of just put to the side that I don't think can be work. But actually right? Oh, I'm top 20% at golf. So if I can't be a pro golfer, I could be a golf coach. I could be an instructor. I could be a coach. Maybe you don't do that, but you're just journaling that out. All right, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do that. The list goes on, but that's where you would start, right? And then create, if you get that loan from your family, like you mentioned, all right, what kind of training do I want to do, or where do I want to put that towards doing something? Now, here's the other part. Allow yourself that even if you failed, you're going to make some progress, because the situation you're in now is inevitably bad.
You're just moving forward, right? Even that's a great step, right?
Well, there's another thing you can do, like in hypnosis, or we can talk about it right now, because it's harder, because people right now have more trouble visualizing things, right? So one thing you can do is, like, if I stay in this relationship for 10 years, what will my life look like? Because if you're really honest, you're like, well, if she changes, you're like, it's not going to change probably.
Intuition.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, your intuition knows the individual you're with better than I am.
Yep.
Okay, so, and like I said, I root for someone like this. I don't think it's you're a stay-at-home dad and you're a bad person. I've had numerous friends that have done this, and then when their kid's 4 or 5, they go back to work. So this is not a big problem, because society can kind of chip away at you, like, oh, really? You stay at home with the kid?
You have to be this way. Or,
yeah. It's fine. You're not in that bad a situation. You know, it's a worse situation if you went and said, I'm $100,000 in debt. That sucks. That's hard.
Mm-hmm.
That's starting below ground zero. I'm definitely done with this relationship, but I've got to keep my kids' well-being in mind. Well, good for you. If you're done, start doing the things to be done. So you can't make it tomorrow. Maybe you're like, I can't make moves right now. Start thinking strategically. Start thinking about the money problem, the work problem, and going through that. Start going, like I said, the Ikigai is a good start.
Break that down.
How should I go about moving out and letting go of the idea that this is my kid's mother and we will no longer be a family? Great question. Great question. I'll tell you right now, there's probably some people in the chat that have had to go through this. Right? There's a lot of people that divorce and have kids. They have different reasons. Sometimes you can be bitter. Sometimes you can be upset. It's inevitable, it sounds like, in your situation. So accept the reality of it, number one. Number two, look at people in society or people outside that have done it, and they're okay. You might have had friends that the parents split up, and you're like, you know what?
They turned out all right.
Right? Like, I'm okay. Like, actually, this person, their parents split up, or my parents split up, or whatever, like, and they're okay. Like, they made it work. Look at stories outside of yours that you can cling to. How should I go about moving out, letting go of the idea that this is kid's mother and we will no longer be a family? Also, come back to this. I'm doing the best I can. I've done right by my kid. I've tried, and I've done the best I can. Now it's time to try to make a life on my own, and I'll do my best to be a responsible parent, and I'll do my best to have a good to decent relationship with my ex. Right? And so that's how you can reframe that. All right. Let me just check in the comments. If any of you have a question or you want a breakup that you want to talk about, you can hop on the live stream. But like I said, let's talk about a problem. Petty Betty, how you doing? Always a pleasure. I couldn't when I was cheated and I kept accusing. Well, that's the thing for you. If someone cheats on you and you keep accusing them of it, there's probably a deeper wound there that it's happened to you before, or it's just something that's not acceptable for you and you're lying to yourself. I'm okay with that.
Right.
Like you're trying to be like, oh, it's cool, but you really can't accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got to get out, because
you can't be there. Nah.
Because you know what? It slowly fucking takes away your dignity and your self-respect. But there are people out there that can completely find a reason to forgive. Right? And someone from the outside is like, oh, we're all different, man. So also, a lot of times people that have trouble with cheating too, like if they look back at their life, because B was asking me this last week, like how many people do you think cheat? 70 to 80%, probably once in their life at least. Once. And then there was a guy years back in a live stream. It was one of those live streams. There's only like 4 people on. Okay. If you've been riding with me on these live streams for a while, sometimes I have like 4 people. And this guy was from an area in California I knew. It was in the middle of the night in Cali. And he was like, man, my wife, or I believe it was his, no, excuse me. This was a great story, by the way. I tell you this one,
I don't know.
He was from Fairfield in Cali. And he lived on my aunt's street. My aunt lived in Fairfield for years, and he mentioned the street.
And wow.
Yeah, because it was live.
Right,
he's like, oh, I live on this street. I'm like, what?
Wow.
Wild. Small world. So this guy was with this woman for like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm a cop. I think he was a cop. He said law enforcement.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Right. Maybe he's a detective. I don't know.
Fishing game.
Right. Maybe security.
Yeah.
But he was like, I'm jacked. I'm this, like I got my shit together. I got a house. I'm in my late 20s, or, I look good. I feel good. And he's like, man, I've been with this girl for 2 years. I've been paying for her school. She was younger. She was like 22. I've been paying for her school.
Mm-hmm.
She was going to be my fiance. He's going on and on in the chat. I'm like, all right. I'm like, well, what happened? He goes, found out she was cheating on me, and she was a escort.
She was an escort?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And she was like 22, so she was younger.
Right.
And he was hot about it, right? And I'm like, well, how did you know she was an escort? Like, how did
how did you figure it out?
He goes, he hired a private eye, like a private investigator, which is actually, if you're really wondering, if you're really curious, careful what you wish for, right?
Right.
Because he found out she was going to truck stops. I was like, what?
Wow.
So he was just baffled.
Okay.
He said she was highly
right. Okay.
sexual,
mm-hmm.
right? So he was just bits and pieces. But before this, he had already been married and it didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, let me ask you this, bud. Because this is bad, right? Not only is it cheating, but it's like, we're done. Your girl's an escort. Yeah,
it's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
So I said, but let me ask you this, because he went on and on. He was on for like an hour. I said, have you ever cheated before? And he goes, man. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. mm-hmm.
With my ex-wife. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not telling you to forgive her. I'm just telling you to put it in perspective. He goes, I know. I go, karma's a bitch, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying, believe in karma, don't believe in karma, but believe good gets good, bad gets bad. Mm-hmm. There's never a time frame on karma, right? Whatever. Some people don't believe in it. I don't care.
Cheating's bad enough, but that's a whole another level right there.
It is, but here's the thing. Who's to say if his girl or his ex-wife came
mm-hmm.
on and she told you how hurt she was that he cheated on her?
Oh, yeah.
And he was like,
no, I get that. I'm just saying.
And he was like, well, I'm just, you know what I mean?
But being an escort.
But when I said it to him, after an hour, he was like, fuck. I don't even want to answer that. Like, it put it in perspective for him. It put it in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, I got a question. This isn't a story, more of a question. Coach, I just got a question. I don't want my ex back, but it's been a couple years. I just want to take a break from dating.
Mm-hmm.
Take a break from dating for a couple years. No, it's been a couple years. Okay. I got a question. I don't want my ex back, but it's been a couple years, and I just want to take a break from dating. But my friends I would just want to know, a couple years that you've been broken up, or a couple years of the.
Sounds like broken up.
Broken up. All right. But my friends keep telling me to get back on the horse. I'm fully capable and I'm not heartbroken. I just want to make sure that my next girlfriend lines up better with what I want and who I am. I would say that that's admirable. That's good. That's clean. If you've watched my show before, I always say to filter better, to be a little bit more picky. But in the meantime, go on dates. Go on bad dates, because you need to keep the sword sharp, my friend. Right? Like, if you're like, oh, this is the one, and you haven't been on a date in a while, you're going to piss the bed, man. You're going to be like, oh, it's been a while. What restaurant should I go to? What do you think? Draped with cologne, probably. You know what I mean? It's like, so I would encourage you to practice taking shots at dates that maybe, aren't ideal or anything like that. I wouldn't say go on 100, but if a woman's interested in you, or there's a possibility there and she doesn't line up with everything, go out with her. See what happens. In the past, I would just end up with the first woman that wanted to date me and liked me and then loved me. I feel like this time around, I've got to develop a higher standard. Any advice on doing that? Well, what's a higher standard to you? Money, looks, college degree? Those are things you can filter for, right? Now, college degree, some people, oh, you don't need a college degree. Maybe you got a college degree and that's just something that you value, right? Mm-hmm. That's something you can look for. I want someone that makes 6 figures. All right. You're going to make your pool smaller of who you meet, but map out what the higher standard is for you, because what it's for me and what it's for B and what it's for someone else, it will be different. So define that for yourself with the higher standards and get really specific, and then look at where you're hanging out and spending your time, and hang out at the places where you would find that kind of woman. Now, the crazy thing is people always say, become the person you want to attract. And I always think that's interesting when it comes to, I'm a male, she's a female. So, that might be a dicey topic these days.
Yeah.
B's like, don't go there. Don't go there.
No, let's go there.
Don't go there. But you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Become the person. I've heard it many times. You need to become the person you want to attract. And I always think, I get what they mean, but I think sometimes the kind of person you're trying to attract is going to fit well with you, not necessarily be like you.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? So when someone says that, I can understand like being positive, being in a good place at life, having your shit together, those kinds of things.
Just
but
broadly.
yeah, right? Like having a grasp on your social life and things like that. Sure. But I believe good matches are usually not people that are just like you. They're usually people that show you your dark side. They're usually people that help you through the things that you're not good at.
Yeah.
So to me, when someone's like, oh, you're going to attract exactly who you are, I don't want another one of me, because we're going to... I don't want a female Mac. So it's kind of funny when people say that to me. I was like, you hear it a lot too in dating circles. You need to attract who you need to attract the person you want. You need to be that person. What? I can understand I need to be positive, or you need to be positive. You need to be in a good place. A lot of times, the other thing I would add to that, with the IG and the dating app culture that's just based on pictures as your initial thing, there's a big value now on hot looks. And it's not that anyone's being a narcissist or shallow. It's just what it is. Dating apps are pictures. Instagram is pictures, right? So people are really caught up on how good someone looks. And the reality is the pictures are always going to be off a little bit, if not a lot these days, right? So you're probably going to be disappointed more times than you're not with that. So I would say, like, if you meet someone, you go on a date and your standard's like, I want a 10, I want a 9 on attraction. It's like, go on a couple more if you thought their personality was good. See if it develops. See if attraction actually starts to build. See if they just had a bad hair day. But if you have a good connection, don't just write it off. All right. I appreciate everything you've done for me. Long-time listener, first-time caller. You have calmed me down so many ways. Love your takes on it. Well, thanks, Eric.
Right on.
You made my day. I appreciate you, my friend. Is everything going okay in your relationship life? Where are you at in the world, Mr. Kendall? You need to be the person you would date. That's the statement I mean. That's the statement I mean. Yeah. Would you agree with that, B?
I mean, I guess.
I guess. I have an opinion.
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. That's the first time I've heard it.
But do you see my cross-examination to that comment?
Yeah.
Is that basically like, actually,
yeah,
I don't want him to be just like me. I want her to be...
Compliment the things that aren't, that I'm not exactly...
Wisconsin. Great cheese. Lots of water in Wisconsin, too. I don't know if you ever knew that. One of the biggest freshwater reserves in the world.
One of the Great Lakes is there.
I don't think the Great Lakes are there, are they? I don't know.
It's a guess. I think so. I'm going to guess Erie. I don't
know.
The
Packers. Lombardi.
Yeah, the Packers.
Vince Lombardi. Nice people in Wisconsin. I've met a few.
You're really nice, yeah.
Wisconsin University, home of the great Ron Dane. Was she still working when they were together? Drop the link. Petty Betty, we're going to have to do that for other people. Does anyone else want to hop on the show? If you have a relationship issue or a question about a problem in your life that you want me to help you with, that you want to be vulnerable about, it's not just a mix match talk thing. Oh, mechanical engineering. Good, excellent, man. Good for you. Nice one, bud. What are we at here? 135. Are you better now, Eric? Takes a while to heal a broken heart, huh? Oh, Eric, you want to hop on? You got any stuff you want to talk about? I do got one more story. I could save it for tomorrow. Let me just go through the chat really quick as the great Petty Betty. I hope you're doing well. BB, I hope things are going better. Badass content. Thank you for the compliment. Brian, you knew, or he said, what's up? Miguel's, what's up? Sam's here. Okay.
Percy Blue.
Percy, if you're still on deck, how you doing? Have things been going well for you? We had a session a little while back. I was actually thinking about you recently. I was going to send you an email and just check in. Something I do with past clients, just to check in. How you been? Sam, definitely book a session for the hypnotherapy. Mr. Sammy's. I got into it because of you. Oh, the mechanical engineering. Were you the one? All right. Let's see if my memory's good.
Let's bring it. Come on.
Let's see how good my memory is. Because we didn't do a live coaching, but you gave me credit because I recommended 2 books. I recommended Mastery by Robert Greene. And I recommended Cal Newport, I know is the name of the author. Deep Work. And I told you, if you're thinking about, you don't know where you want to do with your life or your job and you're young, Mastery and Deep Work are the 2 best books. I thought if I was 21 or 22, I would have liked to read. Thank you. Ding, 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 ding. I remember you were like, dude, that was right. They're good. Man, I wish, if that's required reading for like 18, 19-year-olds, great books. Mastery and Deep Work. Mastery by Robert Greene. Mm-hmm. If anyone wants to check that out. And I would say Deep Work, and I have the book notes on my website by Cal Newport. And I'm so glad that affected you in that way, because good book is just timing. Like you could have went around and like, oh, I need to read 5 books. I need to read like 20 books on self-improvement. It's like if you're like 21, 22 and you're like, I don't know where I want to go right now. I don't know what I'm up to. Mastery and Deep Work are 2 really good ones. And I'll just give you a little gist on that. Mm-hmm. So Mastery, he's basically saying picking something that you want to become an expert or a master at, right? Mastery, mm-hmm. Right? So basically he talks about having a good mentor, talks about having not outshining the mentor, being able to leave the mentor at some point, mm-hmm. and model their behavior, like model what they do. So by osmosis, being around people that you want to model. He goes way deeper in that. It's a very thick book. He uses Benjamin Franklin as an example. And Deep Work basically tells you to get off all social media, focus on the specific things in your field. So he was a college professor at Georgetown, and he was saying, as a college professor, the way you get measured is by doing papers. So they have being published in these journals, right? Which is something like, if you're not an academic, you'd be like, what?
But those are the people that
right, like it wouldn't be as valuable to us, but that's how they measure their colleagues.
Right. Oh, I've been published 10 times or whatever.
So what he does is he focuses on that, mm-hmm. for his deep work.
Right.
So he's got like I don't know, the most papers, and he just talks about the process that he used for that. And he's very anti
Social media.
social media. Yeah.
So it must be a fairly recent book.
Deep Work's probably within maybe 6 or 7 years ago, at least. I mean,
yeah, relatively.
Like I said, I have it on my, pretty sure on the notes on mine. If you guys want to go to my writemac.com, there is a book notes.
What's spy guy work? What does that mean? Spy guy work.
Let's see if I have it here. Oh, here. All right. 10 pages on it. Yeah. Maybe I can put this in the chat for you guys.
It is on there, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that. Do I have the... Oh, Mastery's on here too. Okay, there you go. So I would still buy the book. I don't know. But thanks for that, Eric. I do remember you saying how good that was. Yeah. And I might as well, if Sam Lujan wants to do hypnosis, maybe I'll give you my link to hypnosis.
Have you heard about the Book of the Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi? It's like a sword fighter back in the day in Japan.
Probably one of the worst books I've ever read.
You're such a liar. It kind of is. It's about that. It's pretty good.
Definitely, I would not recommend it. If B saying
it's great.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
It's short. It's super short, but it's
That's
just
why you liked it.
Like a collection of his teachings or thoughts, and
I don't know. I have a really good memory when it comes to people I talk to on the live stream or live coaching things. So
definitely,
it's like Eduardo Martinez. I think is originally from the LA area, lives in Vegas. Really likes when I say Eduardo Martinez. I remember I said that in the live stream. Someone's like, "You shouldn't talk like that." I was like,
"You like
just take a chill pill, man. Come on." And Eduardo is considering moving back to the LA area to be closer to family when he first moved out. And I said, I think you probably should stick it out a little while. If I remember correctly. Everyone has free will. But yeah, when I have clients, I'll be like, wasn't it like 2 years ago this, and this happened? They're like, yeah. How'd you know that? And didn't you have this car and that bike and this thing? Martinez. Eduardo Martinez.
Yeah, I have been shocked once or twice.
You have a pretty good memory. I'll give you that.
Pretty good, yeah.
You just don't talk to as many people as I do.
No, you've got the gift of gab. I will say that.
Never. Yeah, no, I can make conversation with anyone. It's a good thing and a bad thing. Sometimes I have to be like, all right. And then sometimes I'll tell B, I met someone that talks more than me.
And you're shocked.
Yeah, and I'm like, is this what I'm like? Like, can I get in there? Excuse me. Can I interject? Can I make a comment? They're usually Americans.
Is that an American thing?
I think so. I think we tend to talk faster. Yeah. All right. One more story. We'll close it out. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready. Let's go.
Has anyone ever been stood up? Not asking because of personal experience. Okay, sure. Just randomly thought about it and thought I'd ask. What do you mean? Like stood up by a date or something? At the restaurant,
be like you're waiting on them, and yeah.
I haven't had that happen, but I think I've had times.
They cancel.
Not anytime soon, yeah, where someone cancels
right.
Or they just seem to be making, excuses. But I don't remember at any time recently. But like a full on where you
were left at the restaurant waiting, type of situation.
But that sounds like something you see in movies.
Yeah, the stereotypical.
Is it? I mean, anything like that, nowadays I wouldn't take it personal. Like you look at it like, oh, I can't believe they did that to me. It's like, all right, you just showed me who you are, or maybe they had a real problem.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can call nowadays.
But there's a lot of value when someone shows you who they are, so then you can make a better assessment of what you want to do. Yeah. It's like, all right, cool.
Don't be butthurt about it. Just take it in.
I will never ask you to dinner again because you stood me up. It's like,
all right,
okay, that's a valid reason. All right, ready? I was in a bad relationship for over 15 years and finally got a divorce a year ago. And 6 months ago, I started to put myself back out there and got a few dating apps. I immediately found some success with a few matches where the dates went well, which surprised me because so many people I know complained about the dating apps being a joke. Well, there you go. Try them for yourself. There's also, I don't know how many dating apps. I mean, people have told me some dating apps that they've met their match, and I'm like,
well, I don't think they'd still,
I've never heard of that one.
I don't think they'd still be around if people didn't have success on them, you know?
Right. So
sure, it's a hit or miss.
You know, try it out yourself, and also your friend's not you. So I eventually settled on one guy who I now understand was just too good to be true. Well, hindsight's 2020. Connecting the dots makes you look like a genius every time. He was rich, or so he said. He worked out and didn't have any kids or complaints about past relationships. So that's what makes him too good to be true. I think he had you at rich. You're rich and this and this. It's rich was enough. Mm-hmm. Then after 4 months of great chemistry, we moved in together. He moved into my home, and I originally assumed we'd share the bills, and he'd eventually help me with the mortgage, which is pretty low. I even was told by him before he moved in that he'd pay for everything. But then he had this story where he was waiting on some money from an overseas investment. It was substantial, and he promised once he got it that he'd buy me a car, which I never asked for. But he went as far as to take me to the car dealership and have me order the car. I wanted, which was an expensive model. Okay. Then as things transpired, he started borrowing money from me. And before I knew it, I had put his name on the house and I was all in. Well, I mean, from the outside in, and we're reading this right now, everyone's going, scam. I can hear it right now. Scam. Oh, I would never do that. Sounds like one of those emails. It's like, keep in mind, this was a long game being played here, right? This is dating app. This is probably, you know what I mean? This is higher level scam stuff, right?
Right.
Because I don't know what transpires in the whole story, but I can tell the people listening to this are, oh yeah, dummy. No. I also was anticipating his investment to be cashed in during the next year. Then he had some story that some hackers got a hold of his investment and that he was wiped out. Yeah, like sounds like a scam. That being said, always remember, we believe what we want to believe. But there's some master manipulators out there that everyone's like, oh, it wouldn't happen to me. I mean, I haven't been put in this situation, but it's possible, especially when, you meet someone that's too good to be true. Next, and also if you were in a bad relationship for 15 years and you meet someone that's like so incredibly outstanding, you want to believe them.
Sure.
Next, he asked if we could get a loan on the house because he needed to hire an international lawyer that could recover the money. We got the loan, he disappeared. Okay. So now it's cut and clear what happened to you. You have to accept the reality of that.
I know.
All right. You got to accept the reality of that. Now it's been a month, no sign of him. I went to the police, but they said it was a white collar crime, but really there was no gun to my head or anything like that. I was aware of what I was doing. I've since fell in depression with points of anxiety about what to do. I'm not broke as my house still has some equity. Okay. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I love the silver lining in that. Thank you. But I'll have to sell most likely and start all over. Well, at least you have something. Like I said, what's worse? $100,000 in debt. How do I forgive this man and accept he's gone? Great question. It's going to take, number one, it's going to take time. I would absolutely recommend some kind of therapy or coaching. Hypnosis and EFT, which I do, would be one of them. Now, is that like you're going to work with me and next day you're like, oh, I forgive them? No, but it's a start. We'll start cracking away at it. This would probably take multiple sessions, but that's where you want to start. The fact that you have equity in your house, you're not at ground zero, okay? I wouldn't share this story with a lot of friends and colleagues because it'll make it worse. If you've already done it, that's fine. Don't spread it anymore. Because the friends and colleagues, they're going to spread this. It's going to be gossip, okay? And it's not going to help you. And then you might get a reaction that's cold, like, oh, God, you didn't know? So this is a time when you're going to be really sensitive. And if you've never had depression or high anxiety before, that means you're going to be able to get out of this better, right? And you overcame a bad relationship of 15 years. You can overcome this. How do I forgive this man and accept he's gone? The fact that you can accept he's gone is coming up with the reason. So in tapping, you would go, even though this guy lied to me and stole money, I'm okay because I don't see any real health issues. I still have equity in my house. I'm still a good person. I did the right thing. Even though this guy stole money from me and he's never coming back, I forgive myself. That's first. Because you're probably going through this thing where you're like, you're not forgiving yourself. That's first. Forgive yourself for being duped by this guy. That's what we'd want to get to. I forgive myself. You can put forgiving him on the shelf for a while. Because to be honest, it's not just going to be hard. It's going to take time. Okay? I've been to therapy before for past issues and I've forgiven for deep wounds before. But this one I'm having trouble with. I went to your site and it says you do hypnotherapy. How would that go in a situation like this? How is it different than other therapy? Good question. Well, we would talk about specific issues. I'd have to ask you more questions, not just about what happened and how he took money, but how you're looking at the process. And then we would probably do some EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, tapping, what I just said. D's done some EFT before. I know he can attest that it works pretty well. Mm-hmm. I use it. It's very quick. That can get to the bottom of things. I'll be putting out a video soon about that specifically, and I'll put it in a link below eventually. The hypnotherapy part, like I said, it would be putting you into a relaxed state, talking about the problem, asking you some questions while you're in the relaxed state, eyes closed, calmly going through it, right? And getting you to a point where you're not so narrowly looking at the topic of this guy lied to me, he hurt me, he betrayed me, and finding out what's the real one that's bothering you. Because everyone thinks in their heads like, oh, it would be hurt, oh, it would be this. It's different for different people. The betrayal part might be big for you. So understanding that. Hypnosis, I assume for me, the difference is you're most likely going to close your eyes. You're going to go into a relaxed state. This is done online just as well as it is in person. So you don't need to do it in person. You can do it on Zoom calls. I do it all the time. So closing your eyes, concentrating on your breathing in the beginning, relaxing your legs, relaxing your arms, relaxing your feet, relaxing your knees. And then you just calm down. That takes about 5-7 minutes sometimes for induction to relax you. I'm getting relaxed thinking about it, right? You calm down your nerves, right? And you get in that relaxed state. And then we deal with the problem that way. And then there can be some suggestions that I make based on what you've told me about how to look at this. If you have more questions about that specifically, you can email me or we can do a consultation where we talk for 20 minutes and then you can decide if you want to do it. But the clients that have done it with me before have all said good things. The other thing I offer is money back if you're not happy with it. So, all right. Any closing thoughts here? We've got 14 on deck. You don't forgive them, kick them to the curb, or curse at every wind on this planet, I would be extra cranky if I was in that position. Yeah, you might start there. You might start with, like I said, if you can't forgive right now, that's okay. You got to accept it. What the heck? She let a guy she barely met for 4 months move into her home. It happens. Anyone have any closing questions or would like to come on the live stream and unpack their breakup, relationship situation, or any problem they have? Actually, I'm going to shift this show from breakups to if you have other problems at work or a colleague. I've had a lot of clients that are coming to me with other issues. I've actually been asked recently by the great Jersey Jen, who's been on my live stream many times, if I do other stuff. Absolutely. Absolutely. I just started this channel 5 years ago. I've specialized in breakups, so I've stuck with it. But breakups are usually related to other issues. The biggest problems we have with breakups are usually tied to the way we handle trauma or bad situations. They're interwoven. Take it like she paid for a lesson. And like I said, I would reiterate, situations like this, don't share them with a lot of people. Share them with people that you're close to that are understanding, but you go and share this with the wrong person and they'll make it 5 times worse. Because people get off on this stuff sometimes. Yeah, absolutely, Sam. And it works for, like I said, manifestation, limited beliefs. It's very easy if you're scared of spiders, or some people are scared of the dark. Some people, phobias are really easy. So a lot of times hypnotherapy was classically used to quit smoking. And ironically, that's what it's related to. But if it's able to help you quit smoking, wouldn't you rather it help you with limited beliefs? So it's a really deep experience. I actually do it now maybe once every 2 or 3 months. And then when you learn it, you can actually set up your own recordings for yourself. So Petty Betty has. I think it was a good experience we had, Betty. I know it's a good experience, actually. The thing about it is you kind of
I'll second that.
check them out.
Check it out.
I always say my next live's tomorrow, but then I don't know because I get coaching sessions sometimes. Stuff comes up. Right on, Eduardo Martinez. Get Petty Betty on the live stream. She's golden.
He did drop a 10.
You need it. So, Petty Betty, if you want to jump on the live stream, please tell me what topic you want to unpack.
Let's get specific here.
I've never heard too much about it. You know why, Sam? The reason why is every time someone thinks of hypnosis, they think of stage hypnosis or someone getting brainwashed.
Clucking like a chicken on stage.
Yeah, it's just like
that's what I had, to be honest. I had the same thing.
Like, I've had a close friend that's a yoga instructor who's into all kinds of therapeutic thing. You know, yoga instructors are usually really open characters and stuff. He's like, isn't that what people use to like quit smoking? It's like, no. So I think combining it with therapy, it's different. It's different. And these days, calming you down is really hard, right? Because of your distractions with the phone, your distractions with the internet and all those other things, and watching so many different channels, it's really hard to get focused. So when I induct you into a state of calm by just, like I said, when B first tried, he's like, all right, I'll try it. I knew in his head, he was like, I don't think it's going to work. And all I do is close your eyes.
I was a little apprehensive. Yeah.
Relax your feet, relax your arms, relax your, like, I'm not doing anything that's crazy.
No.
And then when you get deeper and deeper, that's when you get suggestive on things that you want embedded or programmed for you to feel better. But if I said, you look like a pink flamingo while you're in hypnosis, you'd go like this. You'd open your eyes. And every time at the end of hypnosis, when I go, you can open your eyes now, and you open your eyes. So you're present through the whole thing. But I would also say that doing it online for some people is more comfortable. I have a hydraulic fluid class at 8 a.m., so I understand it. What an interesting name for a class. Hydraulic fluid class. Interesting, man.
He's an engineer?
Yeah, he said mechanical engineer is what he's going to work for.
Right on.
Exactly my idea of it, but I'm glad to hear I was wrong. I didn't want to be completely away from myself. And you know what's interesting? I've thought about this before. If you do it live with someone, I don't know if they have the same experience. If I had a client come on and I did it in front of you like a demonstration, I could do that.
Right.
I could show you guys the process of it, and I'm happy to do that at some point. I don't know if you would feel what was going on. The problem with it is really good therapy. You don't want to share it with everyone. He's like shaking his head. You know what I mean? I don't want you to come on and go, oh, I kind of have this, and you make up something to just do
or
it.
Feel you have to hold back a little bit, the information or whatever.
I guess one thing that I could do is if you have a phobia, like I said, a lot of people are. This is a surprising one. Some people are scared of clowns.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
Because when they were 4 years old, their clowns scared them. Yeah. So those kinds of things are very easy to help you. It's not that all I do is suggest a new story to apply to that. So your mind has a story in your head. You might go, I don't know why I've always been afraid of clowns. Or you might go, I just hate clowns. I always have. And everyone accepted that around you. They might tease you about it. Mm-hmm. Same with spiders. I don't know why.
Is that something personal? Do you have some?
It's usually always if you go, when was the first time you were scared of spiders? And if someone goes, I don't know why, but when I was 4 years old, my brother threw a tarantula on my back. It's like, okay,
there you go.
Now we know where it started. Now we can rearrange that thought, or we can go back to that and make it. So there's all kinds of things you can do. I hated clowns.
There you go.
See? Yeah, I had a couple clients that were like, oh, we were talking about deeper things. And they were like, oh, I'm scared of thunder and I'm scared of spiders. Yeah, those were the two things. And those, we just got rid of those. Like, and she was like, yeah, I'm not scared of them. I don't know why. Because when you do hypnosis, it's so subliminal. You don't know why. And it's so, you just all of a sudden are like, oh, you're not going to put your hand in a jar of spiders, but you're just not freaked out. I haven't had any luck with dating. With the dating, are you saying apps or are you just saying dating overall to get back in the game? I would just say that, because I remember BB, you had a 5-year relationship, right? And you were hurt by the fact that you had this money issue that caused the problem that you came clean. Allow yourself to take a little bit of time.
No pressure.
It's only been 2 or 3 months. And in those 2 or 3 months, you've been trying to get back. So what I always tell people, so this will be redundant for being the rest of people, go on some bad dates. What I mean by that is allow yourself to just go on some dates that you maybe are anticipating like it's not going to go well, or if you're nervous, and then
they might surprise you.
Come on the show and tell us the stories, because bad dates have the best stories. I'm actually going to have clients write in about bad dates. I've already asked a few prior clients because I was like, that would be a great thing to share, because then it makes you less scared to go on dates, right? Because you go, not everyone's scared, but you know what I mean. Because of the worst case scenario, it's a great story. Later, when you look at your bad dates, they're funny. So I would say that the number one thing is, if you're going to do dating apps, pictures count, descriptions count. If you're going to do meeting on cold approaches, where do you hang out? Reassess where you hang out. If there's the type of women you want to approach. If you're a construction worker and you and your buddies are going out to a bar after work, like to have a few beers, not to typecast things, but if you go to a bar where there's one female bartender and it's all dudes, I've been to these bars with friends when I'm in town in California, and I'm like, what are we doing here? Those are places you're probably not going to meet women, and everyone thinks the bartender's so hot, right? So, and by the way, I'm not suggesting that bars are the best place, but think about where you're hanging out and you're going places. And then allow yourself, I'm not saying this about BB, but allow yourself to just go on some dates with women that maybe aren't exactly what you want to go with, but just to get yourself out there. And if you just have dinner and it goes bad, that's okay. I think what happens is I like you to filter high, but also to allow yourself to, just get out there again. But in the meantime, if you feel like things are slow or you're still hurting, allow yourself to have a month off where like, don't press yourself. Maybe you need a little bit more time. Because the problem is when you come out of a breakup, you're susceptible to settling into a relationship that could be bad just because it's the only show in town, right? So if you need to take a little bit of time, that's fine. And of course, going to the gym or exercising or getting your life right, getting your money right, if those are all in place and you're increasing those things, well, then your confidence will build and you'll end up attracting someone better. Eric Kendall, it was something. Well, if Eric Kendall, if I asked, we could do it voice only right now. If I had to ask you, when was the first time you were scared of clowns? The only fear I had growing up was seeing the palm trees flailing back and forth on windy days. I don't know why. It used to terrify me, but I remember crying as a kid with fear. Nowadays, I don't care about it. No, like those high palm trees in LA. I know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. I was never scared of those, though. I would say probably it just got in your head that it's possible. Yeah, that's one that I could ask you questions about and we could figure it out. Mm-hmm. Everyone's psyche has the answers. You have a Rolodex of answers for why you believe what you believe. And it's when you start to go through it, people are shocked because they're like, oh, that's why I believe that. It's always being supported by a small moment in your life that made a rule and then created a gatekeeper. Yeah. I had clowns when I was young, like at parties or like toys.
Figurines. I think there was in my grandparents' place, they had like a weird clown picture somewhere.
Painting or something?
Yeah, like a painting.
Not
like
a painting of a clown when I was a kid. Yeah. It didn't scare me, though.
No, it didn't scare me.
You know what I didn't like as a kid? This is going to sound like I never liked scary movies. I can watch them now. Mm-hmm. But when I was young, I didn't like them. And everyone would always want to watch Jason.
How young are we talking? Are we talking like teens or?
Well, I mean, I always had an older sister, was 5 years older. So whenever you have an older sibling, they kind of have, you know what I mean? They're 14 when you're 9.
Right. So it's
like, oh, you don't want to watch Freddy Krueger? Freddy Krueger was big.
So you're like, no.
Jason. I forgot what that's called. The Jason movies.
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. Yeah. I didn't like those at all when I was like 8, 9. And then when I was maybe like 11 or 12, I'd watch them with friends, like, VHS or whatever. But I still didn't like them. But I wasn't. You want to know the scariest movie I've ever seen? To me, the most clever, scary movie I've ever seen. If the 17 on deck want to hear this, just let me know in the chat and I'll talk about it. Otherwise, we can stop. What's the scariest movie you've ever seen? It wasn't fucking Freddy Krueger, like predictably fake.
Scariest one. I don't know, because that's not something that I'm into either. To be honest with you, like I'm not somebody that watches.
Never can give a straight answer. Jesus, man.
Scariest movie. I don't know, man. Let me think.
I was convinced that it's crazy what the mind does with imagination, right? Jordan Peele, what about him?
Yeah, those ones were. What was the one where they had like a separate family?
A lot of people thought Blair Witch Project was scary.
Oh, I saw that. That was pretty scary
because it looked like reality. So the one I saw, and I might have talked about this before, I've done like 1,000 live streams, literally. Someone's like, "Oh, have you done 1,000 hours? Have you done this?" Check the random content on my channel. It's like B said, there's no organization here. You just made a bunch of videos. Yeah, I did. So Jordan Peele, Get Out. What is that? Is that a show or a movie?
You've never seen Get Out?
No.
That's a pretty good movie.
We have different.
I mean,
tastes,
I'm not gonna give it too much away, but I would check it out.
Silence of the Lambs is up there. Silence of the Lambs was pretty crazy. You want to know how old I was and how old Silence of the Lambs was? We had a drive-in theater. Like in the Bay Area, there's a drive-in theater in Burlingame that's not around anymore. It's near SFO Airport. And I remember that was on there. That's a long time ago, man. The precious. No, but that would be pretty high up there. I think I didn't watch that when I was young. The one that I thought was, I don't know what the name of the movie is. So everyone's like, well, okay.
Come on.
Right?
Okay, we'll explain it. We'll figure it out.
But I remember the story. Just tell me you're ready. Throw about 3 super chats for $100 each, and I'll get started. Don't do the voice, Mac, please. So, let's get serious here. Does everyone... Petty Betty's not going to know what this is. Ventriloquist. Do you know what a ventriloquist is?
Of course, yeah.
I can see Petty Betty. What is that? What's a ventriloquist? What's a ventriloquist? Does anyone know what a ventriloquist is?
Yes.
Now, here's the interesting thing about a ventriloquist. Let me just let Petty Betty chew on that for a minute. So, again, like a misunderstanding controls puppets, right? You have a little puppet. Mm-hmm. Hey, this is my friend Johnny. Mm-hmm. But what you don't realize, they never move their lips, right?
Right, they're good at...
They don't move their lips. They go, hey, this is Johnny. Hey, Johnny. But here's what I didn't know. A really good ventriloquist can throw their voice. Did you know this?
Sound like it's coming from over there?
I could be like I'm behind the door. Right. So the movie that I saw, and like I said, some people are going to be like, oh, I know that one. I forgot what it was called. Right? So this is the story. There's a babysitter. The babysitter's, I don't know, I think it was 2 kids she was watching. It was a rainy, stormy night. And she's like a teenager. Storming, right? And the 2 kids are upstairs. It was like a 90s, 80s movie kind of thing. And door knocks, raining. The girl comes to the door. She's like, who is it? What do you need? And the guy's like, hey, my car broke down. Can I use your phone? She's like, no, I'm sorry. You can't use the phone. And he's like, oh, it's raining out here. Could I use the phone? She's like, no, I'm sorry. I can't open the door. So he goes, okay. And he leaves. And she kind of sits down on the couch like this, kind of 5 minutes go by. Hey, I really need to use the phone. My car's broke down. And she's like, I can't open the door. I something like that. And then something happens. She walks away. She comes back to the door. I think she's going to open the door, and the porch is empty. And the voice is still talking. So he was throwing his voice.
So he was inside the house.
Yeah. She goes running upstairs. Both one or two of the kids are gone. I think both the kids are gone. 5 years go by. She's in college. 5 years go by. She's like in college, right? And this is before like depression and anxiety was big, right? So they just have her in college and they're showing her like, and she's talking to friends during lunch, like, hey, what's up? Like hanging out, 80s style. Look like a Mentos commercial. She's like, one morning she wakes up and two of the kids' shirts are in her closet.
Oh wow.
Like the kids' clothes. And she's like, oh my God. And then she's in the supermarket and someone on one of the other aisles is like, hey, Pam, how have you been? And she's like, what? You know, like, and they're in the other aisle, like throwing their voice over and she can't find them. Right. So this guy starts trailing her and doing all these things with the ventriloquist, like throwing his voice. And in the end, there was a brick wall in the house she was staying at, like or a house she was at, and the brick he painted himself like the brick color, and like now I'd be like, but he was like camouflaged into the brick, and you could just see his eyeballs open, but he was talking, throwing his voice in the room all over the place. Yeah, it's called The Babysitter something.
The Babysitter something?
Yeah, I don't know what it's called. I feel like I didn't tell the story scary enough, but could you imagine though throwing your voice though? The Scream movie with the Scream voice it wasn't that scary, but
I think I was young enough to where it kind of scared me a little bit.
I remember I had a phone that had that. I had a phone that had that Scream voice.
Like the app or something like that. Yeah.
When we were in high school and we used it on a few people.
Oh wow. It's bad. When people were actually scared.
It's horrible, man. What are you doing? Right? Like, because the person was like, who is this? Who is this? Stop it. Poltergeist was pretty scary. Some of those are supposed to be, like, the craziest thing about Exorcist was it was supposed to be based on a true story. Anything that's based on a true story, I don't know. You figured it out, B? You looked it up?
I couldn't find it.
Anyways. Dead silence. Is that the name of it? The Hills Have Eyes? I don't know.
Oh, The Hills Have Eyes. That was pretty damn scary.
You know what's funny is like
The Hills Have Eyes.
Relating this to breakups and relationships, you think about how scared you are of, not seeing someone again, and it's a different kind of fear, huh? Isn't it crazy? And you think about how elevated your fear is from a movie or
Stir of Echoes is the one I was thinking of. It's with Kevin Bacon.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's trippy.
I remember that. They buried the kids downstairs.
Underneath the thing, and he was like, "Here." Yeah.
Have you had a ghost experience before?
No.
You're lying.
No, that's why would I be lying? You think that I've had a supernatural event in my life?
You've had a ghost experience. Come on, man. Everyone's had
hiding it. I'm just hiding it. Never. Wait, you have? You've gone?
I'm not going to talk about it. It's personal. I'm not going to go there. It's not what this show's about.
We can make it about it.
I haven't had one before, but I believe that. Okay, I've had one situation, but I'm not going to talk about it until there's a hundo on the super chat. I've had one situation. I've talked about this before. People that have been on my show a bunch of times. When I used to do real estate. And so the thing about real estate is you'd go residential real estate. Someone would be like, oh, I want to see this house. Sometimes the houses are vacant. Sometimes people live there, but the vacant ones, as a real estate agent, you have this little box that you could, have the code and you can go preview the house anytime you want. So that's part of the privilege of being an agent. So lockbox, good knowledge. So someone would go, oh, I want to see this house and this house. It's like, all right. Now a good agent, which I was, would go and preview the house to see, all right, let me check it out a little bit, maybe check out if there's any spots or whatever. So I'd go preview it sometimes for myself if I haven't seen it already. So this one house had been on the market for like 200 days in a pretty good area at a pretty good price. So it's like, whenever you're an agent or whenever you do real estate, there's always like, what's wrong if it's been on the market?
Red flag.
Well, usually it's price. It's always price. Okay. It's always value, right? So people, but also the longer a house is on the market. So sometimes people can buy the house and go into contract, get out of contract. And now the house has been on 50 days. So everyone thinks something's wrong.
But it just fell out. Right. Yeah.
But most of the time it's price and it just doesn't show well. So I went there and the house wasn't very nice, but it was big and it was a big house. Yeah. And it had like brown carpet and things like that, but there was a feeling in the house. And, actually my girlfriend at the time came with me and we were just, like I said, just looking around. And I remember all of a sudden, like, let's go. I want to get out of here. And I didn't know why. I just felt uncomfortable. I didn't know why. And then I researched it, and there was a really bad fire at the house years earlier that they had to disclose. I don't know how many people were injured or what happened specifically. Like, I didn't really dig into it, but the feeling I had was something bad. Like, it's just get out of here. And it was daylight still. You know, it wasn't. Again, that wasn't as good a story as some people would think, because you can't transfer feelings. You can't transfer the feeling that you had. You're like, sure. But when I was in training for real estate, someone had told a story that they went into a garage with clients showing a house. And immediately the guy was like, something's wrong in this garage. You know, the client, there's something wrong here. And the guy was like, yeah, it feels weird. And they all felt this, I don't know, uncomfortableness, right? And then they found out that someone had died in the garage like 2 weeks or 3 weeks before. Sure. Now, when you sell houses, you have to disclose that. So, but
2 or 3 weeks before.
I don't know what it was. I mean, specifically, I don't remember the exact time frame, but that story always stuck with me where I was like, wow, dark energy. Is there a website of you? In America, you can ask any question you want to the real estate agent, and they should be able to tell you or direct you to something called disclosures. So when someone sells a house, they have to disclose everything they know, or else they're liable to be sued. So even if, like, let's say the neighbors throw a lot of like barbecues and play a lot of loud music and the guy's a DJ, you probably should disclose that. You can get sued for it in some California, especially.
Yeah, say some states are probably different.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people would say, oh, I'm not going to say that. I'm just saying disclosing as much as possible covers you. Yeah. But you have to ask the agent. You can ask them direct questions, and they pretty much are supposed to tell you what they know. So, well, it's all a frequency, energy, different things like that. That's true. Petty. All right, I'll just call it curtains. It's been good. It's been grand. Sam, go ahead and book that session whenever you want. I look forward to it. Thanks for riding tonight. We had spirited crowd. As always, we always get off topic a little bit, but that's fun, right?
That's the fun of it.
If you guys have some bad date stories, feel free to email me or send them into the website, and I'll go through them. And maybe we can share them. Because like I said, sometimes getting back into the dating game for a lot of people, everyone's got all this advice, right? Like, do this, do that. There's so much out there. It's like hearing about bad dates is another side of it, rather than sometimes I think if you go to a guru or someone that's really good at it, it makes it more intimidating for some people. But when you hear about bad dates, you're like, oh, okay. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? I can have a good, funny story. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Eduardo Martinez, Petty Betty, Eric, Kendall. I'm really happy for you in your career, and you're doing well. And thank you for saying thank you. I appreciate that. Just coming on to let me know that. BB, I hope you're doing well. BB. Hang in there and just keep showing up every day, bud. It's all right. Take your time. 5 years is a long time, and you're allowed to hurt a little bit. You're allowed to be uncomfortable a little bit. And if you're having a lot of trouble with it, go to my website and book a live coaching session. We'll unpack it a little bit more. I'm not going to cure you of hurt, but I'll help you. I'll help you get some clarity and help you move forward a little bit. I guarantee that. Like I said, 5 years, you need to talk about it. You need to talk about everything. And sometimes your friends don't want to talk for an hour or 2 hours. I've had people, they got to air it out for 2 hours straight. And that's when you talk about top 20% in the world, not many people will listen to you for 2 hours about your breakup and give you insight. The screaming neighbor kids. Thanks, bud. All right, folks. Take care.
See you guys.